making things better. Face facts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of HodgePodge on BlogTalkRadio. I'm your host, Character King Kingsley Martin. This is my very first time to do radio solo flying. I've done it before working with people, but never in this situation. So here we go. Tonight I will warn you that I'm going to be 50% gay, 50% straight. Talk a lot about news and politics, talk a little bit about science, religion, the current activities in the entertainment industry, and a little bit more of everything else. So stick around, and I hope that you will enjoy the show. Stick with me to get started. Let me see if I can get my intro to play, because it should be playing now. But of course it doesn't want to play. What can I say about that? That's very annoying. All right, well, without the intro, that's fine. Bastards. I guess I didn't get it to do as much as I wanted it to. But that's all right. So here's what goes on. I'll talk about some of my favorite topics here, and if you want to join in the conversation, please give me a call at area code 714-868-0248. And again, you're listening to HodgePodge. The first thing I really want to talk about tonight from an entertainment perspective is I heard earlier today that Rihanna is now no longer talking to Chris Brown again. I don't even know why she started talking to him again in the first place. She's just like in a battered relationship situation where you go back to the guy who's treated you like shit over and over again, or the woman. I've been there, but I don't understand for the life of me why you would go back to this situation again. And honestly, I think she did it for the money, but going back to it was the most regressive type thing you could possibly do in the situation. The guy obviously doesn't give a damn about anybody but himself. As a matter of fact, I'm quite surprised that the public has forgiven his behavior because it was so raunchy. In the first place, I'm surprised this guy hasn't been, bashed to no end. He's been worse than a lot of other people in the media who have been insulted for a lot more. For example, I think back to the guy from, what was his name? The guy from Seinfeld who went out and started use the N-word at a comedy show. He used it one time, and now all of a sudden he's basically been exiled from the entertainment industry. Mel Gibson over and over again has said what some people call anti-Semitic comments. I really don't know the full gist of them. I've heard him talk to his ex-wife, who clearly was money hungry and wanted a lot of power from him. But they've made mistakes. Alec Baldwin has called his daughter names. Yet this guy who beats up on women and who's been proven to be beating up on women has been allowed back in the industry, and people still praise him in the music industry. I think it's kind of crap, and I don't quite frankly understand where society allows that to happen. They're forgiving of some people and just not forgiving of others, and that's fine. I guess that's just the way society goes. On a slightly leaning toward the gay note of the program, I also heard earlier today that Brad Pitt is now the face of Chanel No. 5. I think that pretty much says it all. I wonder if he wears that when Angelina takes him out to dinner, because Brad is a little bit more of the effeminate in that relationship. She seems a lot more masculine and assertive in her ways and a little more sort of edgy and goes after what she wants, and Brad Pitt seems a little bit more docile and sort of follows the pattern and likes to be dad. That's not an insulting thing. As a matter of fact, sometimes the woman is the leader in the relationship and sometimes the man is. In this situation, apparently Brad Pitt is a little more of a follower in the relationship and continues to still work, but is definitely not as prominent a visual in society right now like Angelina Jolie is. He's a little more back and getting ready to get married, and I wonder what kind of dress he's going to wear. Probably not white. And if Jennifer Aniston has anything to say about it, potentially he'll be wearing something with a jock strap to protect his balls from the crotch kicking he's going to get. But it's kind of surprising that he is taking over as the the face of Chanel number 5. I suppose that's just a part of what he really wants to do with his life, and I guess that's great. I think I'd be getting back into making films like Legends of the Fall, as well as films like Interview with a Vampire. Now he's going to do movies like Smell This and The Odor of Me and My Nose Has Power. Maybe he'll do a superhero movie called Sniff Man. Who knows? Maybe we'll see what comes out of it. But I hope it does add up to good things for him. He is a very good talent, and I'm sorry to see that he's not out there doing more stuff with his talent. I suppose it's just the way things have gone for him. But we'll see what happens with Brad Pitt in the coming weeks and days. Continuing on the concept of gayness in society, it was recently reported, I guess in the last 48 hours or so, that John Travolta is now being accused and sued again by another massage therapist, accusing the man of making unwanted advances towards him. I just would have to know in what situation John Travolta, the guy is, rubbing his back, rubbing his ass, rubbing his legs. I think that's suggestive in the first place, but that's all right. And then does John just say, a little lower, no, to the left, no, more to the left, right there, oh yeah. Who knows what John Travolta said in the situation, quite frankly. It's a very precarious situation when you are in a massage situation to know what the boundaries are for the massage therapist. I've had one massage in my life, actually one or two, whatever it was, and honestly, you don't really know where the boundaries are. I've had some things that I never would have expected a massage therapist would have gone down and, been involved in. Of course, both of the people I had massaging me were women, but that's a great thing. But I'm not terribly comfortable with a guy, massaging on me per se. At least right now, there's not someone who I feel comfortable in that kind of space with as far as a man's concerned. Primarily because I just find a woman's touch more soothing and relaxing than I do a man's. But I've obviously never gotten any majorly professional massages, only part-time. But apparently he's been accused of making unwanted advances. And I guess I just want to ask the question: is everybody really crazy? Do they think that John Travolta is gay just because the man, he likes foot-long conies from Sonic? He sings the Oscar Mayer Wiener song. He dresses up in drag. He likes to sing show tunes. He wants to join the Mile High Club. Things like this. Do we really think that John Travolta is gay? Does that make sense? I don't know. I don't know if I would say John Travolta is gay as so much as, in the words of Stewie, it's not so much that he's gay, he's more not straight. Yes, that's kind of what I think. So I think John Travolta is really getting a lot of assault. Tom Cruise has gotten accusations of that. They talk a lot about certain people in the entertainment industry being in bearded marriages. I really don't think we're there to judge. I guess as a public, people want to speculate. But the honest truth is you'll never know what the real situation is. I've heard people that I've worked with before in the film industry make certain comments about John Travolta when he was shooting a film locally in Texas. And I don't know, I don't really find necessarily that John Travolta is per se a straight man, necessarily, but he also might be bisexual for all I know. I'm not really in a position to say I know one way or another. I don't really know that anybody is, honestly. But I guess we'll just have to see what comes of it. But for those of you who are joining me, I want you to know this. I want you to know the audio does not work.
This moment will be the moment of something real and fun and inspiring in this God-forsaken business, and we will do it together. Who's coming with me? Who's coming with me?
Well, there's my little Jerry Maguire moment. I'm testing out my soundboard here that sometimes works and sometimes does not work. That's okay, though. It's kind of a testing pattern here for me as I start my journey here on Blog Talk Radio. Let's see if I get my intro to play with me here. That sounded naughty, didn't it? But let's see if we can get our intro to play. Well, we're not going to get our intro to play. That's all right. We'll move on to other things. As far as the entertainment industry is concerned, I think that pretty much covers most of my stuff that I have tonight on the entertainment industry. I'll move on. And if you do want to talk anything about the information or the stories I shared with you in the entertainment section so far, you can dial in and join the call, enjoy the conversation at 714-868-0248. Again, that's 714-868-0248. This is HodgePodge with Character King Kingsley Martin, premiere episode, so forgive the flaws as they occur. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about what seems good today to talk about. Let's talk a little bit about the WWE wrestling sports side of the program. I'll say on a little bit of the lighter side right now. Going on in WWE right now, I don't really follow TNA. I'm not really a big fan of them, primarily because I find their shows to be fairly bland. I don't find the scripting to be very strong. I don't find the characters to be very strong. I don't find that their storylines are any more cutting edge than work on the WWE, and even WWE is becoming very, very boring. I follow it still because I followed it. I have followed it since I was really young, probably 9 or 10 years old. But one of the things that I find is that the days of the really good storylines and the storylines where good slowly triumphed over evil, if you want to call it, have really passed in the days of wrestling. Back in the days when we had Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior and Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth and Andre the Giant and all of these really well-known and famous names in the wrestling world, we really got a lot that we could enjoy, and we really enjoyed the struggle because it took a while for Hulk Hogan to finally overcome Andre the Giant. It took a long time for Randy Savage to overcome some of the odds, the people he took on, especially with his relationship with Miss Elizabeth. It took a while for them to finally get together. And as they slowly did, you started to, as an audience, connect to them emotionally and then be very attached to them. Unfortunately, now they're shoving a lot of people down our throats. One of the people that the audiences seem to be the most annoyed with now is John Cena, and I do enjoy John Cena's work as a performer. Do I think he's perfect? By no means. But he does have a certain appeal as far as the effort that he puts in to the company and into the community. He's a big participant in Make-A-Wish. He is very involved socially, gets out there, spreads the word of the WWE, seems very tireless in his commitment to the company. But he's been pushed so much as the guy who overcomes all odds that really he's not someone we can slowly start to root for. Even up until the last pay-per-view that they had where they brought Brock Lesnar back, who is former WWE World Heavyweight Champion, whatever it is, UFC Champion. He returned and a big storyline and came to assault and beat the living snot out of John Cena. The problem is that by the time the pay-per-view that they were set up to meet at came along, even though John Cena was beat like a mule, in the end, he still beat Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar was supposed to be this monster who was going to destroy everything, and that sort of demonstrates the problem that's going on with the WWE right now, specifically because they need to get back to a place of doom and gloom, and what I mean by that is that they need to start letting go of the good guys overcoming every odd. CM Punk has been overcoming everything. Sheamus has overcome everything. John Cena, of course, has overcome everything. They need to get back to a place where the heels, which are the bad guys, if you are not a wrestling fan, where the heels are in charge of everything, where things start to go downhill. This is what was happening back in the days of the corporation when Vince McMahon was leading the pack of the heels and taking over everything and bringing everything back down. That was the time when WWE went through the most growth because, like in life, people like to watch train wrecks. So when you show people the worst of things, they sit there and they are captivated by it because they slowly want to find out if you are going to overcome the odds that are set before you. And you make them seem very insurmountable. Things like right now they have a character named Lord Tensai. They have Brock Lesnar, who they need to rebuild even more. They have characters like Daniel Bryan, who is essentially a glorified cheater. They have a Mexican aristocrat who is, or philanthropist. No, it would be a aristocrat or a bureaucrat or pain in the ass or whatever. Because he has a chauffeur or an assistant, whatever, who helps them to sneak through the lines and win battles. You have all these potentially strong heels that need to be built up even more. You have Chris Jericho, who's returning, who's so far his return for the last 4 months has added up to 0 for creating bigger stars or for enhancing the quality of any existing stars in WWE. They really need to get back down to a dark place in WWE right now where they are letting all the heels over. You're letting all the bad guys seem to win every battle that comes along and then knock out guys like John Cena. In my personal opinion, one of the things that should have happened at Extreme Rules is that Brock Lesnar should have beaten John Cena, but to a point where he was completely out of the game, and there was no more John Cena for some time. Then you bring in some of the other faces that need to evolve into higher quality and higher recognizable talent. People like CM Punk, people like Sheamus, people like Kofi Kingston, people like even Zack Ryder, who is a very low card, almost early mid card guy right now. But you need to start slowly letting these guys come in and letting them start to have little tiny victories. I'm not talking about major pay-per-view victories, but just little victories in the process, but then immediately get squashed down and slowly start taking out a lot of the big talent and shelving them, and then using the newer talent that you want to see grow and become more successful. Let them start to engage with these major heels and these people who seem to be unbeatable and who have the advantage of a GM that is on their side and on the side of business and domination and complete control, and then slowly over time start to see them fight back a little bit and then bring back one or two of the upper middle card A talent, something like Sheamus coming back or a CM Punk, and then get down to Survivor Series within the next 6 months or so, and let it be that The Rock returns. There's a big conversation about whether The Rock will come back for WrestleMania 29, and there's even been a conversation about Rock versus Brock, and for the World Heavyweight or WWE title, whichever it may be. It would be a great time for Survivor Series of 2012 to be that The Rock returns and assists a team going against the top heels like Lesnar and this and Tensai and Daniel Bryant, and and Jericho, and if they really want to do something good, turn Randy Orton heel again, and then really start to slowly see him coming back and fighting against it. And then when the end of the year happens, I don't know if it's Armageddon or not anymore. I cannot remember what the names of their pay-per-views are, but at the end, let The Rock have one small victory to get back into the process, starting the new year, saying the next year is full of hope and potential. And then when the next year starts, start letting them get beat down again and beat down, and The Rock's taking some major damage. And then when the Royal Rumble comes around, then what will have been the better part of, 6 or 7 months later, 6 months later at this point, if they did it now, John Cena finally comes back and joins with The Rock, and they battle back and defeat some of these negative talents that are, controlling the WWE and making things hell for everyone. That would be ideal in making it successful and starting to bring the audience back in so they can see how these baby faces, which is the good guys, slowly overcome what seem to be insurmountable odds from the heels led by John Laurinaitis, Brock Lesnar, and top heels like that. That would be really an ideal thing. John Cena has enough to deal with. How's that segue? Because he actually was announced today that he has filed for divorce from his wife. I think her name is Liz. And the story says that Cena is the one that filed, and that he is wanting to move forward, and they are saying that he has that there is an attorney involved now who went after Hogan, and they are expecting the Cena divorce case to basically make the Hogan case look like nothing. Well, I'm sure it will be, because John Cena probably makes a considerable amount of money more than Hulk Hogan from a wrestling perspective at this point. He probably, with endorsements and everything he does, he probably makes a good $15 to $16 million a year before, taxes and agents and managers. He probably makes a pretty big bundle. He is divorcing his high school sweetheart. I think her name is Liz Cena for now. And it says that John Cena actually presented her with a pre-divorce settlement prior to even filing for divorce, that she rejected it because she wanted to make the relationship work. I've got news for you, love. If that man presented you with a pre-divorce settlement before he's even filed, he's going to file. At that point, I'm not telling you should have signed the document, but I'm saying I would start rallying the lawyers as quickly as possible, because that man was going to take your ass to court and try and give you just a little bit of nothing. So I encourage you to be glad that John Cena has a lot of money, and prepare yourself for a really good battle. If you can overcome the prenup that you supposedly have in place according to the articles, then you'll be a fairly wealthy woman. Now, of course, I don't necessarily think it's right for anyone to take the money of someone who has worked very hard to achieve it. I can understand helping them to be comfortable, but I do think giving them 50% of your assets if you've done all this work is really not appropriate. I do think it's wrong to do. I think you should take what is fair, not what is excessive, because you don't see how you're going to go back to work or wherever. We're always, people in situations who don't have money are thrust out of wedlock and marriage and tossed back into the world with very little to go on, and you have to get up and find another way to spend your life. You don't need to just sit back and collect the rewards from someone else's hard work. To me, that is not being an active part of society. That's just sort of sitting around and taking it. So I encourage you to take what's fair, Liz Cena, but do not take more than what you really deserve. Take enough to be comfortable for a while and then start finding your niche and then move on, because essentially you take any of his money in a long-term sense and you are still tied to this man. you will never be free of him, because everybody you ever come encounter with, you're going to be saying, well, I actually have money from my ex, John Cena, and I still have some of his money, and so that's how I pay my bills. So what's the next guy going to think? He's going to think, oh, crap, this lady's taking him for a ride, and she'll probably take me for a ride, too. So be careful with that. That's really my perspective on wrestling this week. I think that the WWE really needs to make some dramatic changes, and they're having a lot of scripting issues right now where they're constantly changing their script and not sticking with it. You hear stories all the time about how they are changing scripts and doing rewrites 4 to 5 times up until the time they actually even start their shows. So I encourage them to really take a turn for the worst, so the audience has something to stare in awe at, like in a car crash. When you see a car crash, as I said earlier, you don't care about the people when they are broken down the side of the road and someone's helping them. You care about when there's a big ball on fire and people are in danger and you're wondering how they're going to survive. That's what makes you sit down, stick around, and watch and turn your head back and forth, hoping to see what the ultimate outcome will be. If it's going to explode and people are going to be jumping out just at the last second or whatever. It's just like an wrestling is a staged presentation. Keep in mind that you're telling a story, and people like to see stories where people slowly but surely, look, I just broke my voice like I'm Peter Brady, surely overcome and succeed against insurmountable odds. Moving on, I wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on and really address what's going on right now in the political scene, because right now there is a lot of stuff happening with Barack Obama and his forward motion towards the re-election, and Mitt Romney and his interest in taking over the presidency. I want to take you first to a news bite. This happened with Barack Obama. I want to say it's today. I think it's today. Where Barack has endorsed a certain kind of marriage that I don't think people expected. So I'll tell you what, why don't we take a quick listen, and I'll catch up on you in a second.
I have to tell you, as I said, I've been going through an evolution on this issue. I've always been adamant that gay and lesbian Americans should be treated fairly and equally. And that's why, in addition to everything we've done in this administration, rolling back Don't Ask, Don't Tell, so that outstanding Americans can serve our country, whether it's no longer defending the Defense Against Marriage Act, which tried to federalize what has historically been state law. I've stood on the side of broader equality for the LGBT community. And I had hesitated on gay marriage, in part because I thought civil unions would be sufficient, that was something that would give people hospital visitation rights and other elements that we take for granted. And I was sensitive to the fact that for a lot of people, the word marriage was something that evokes very powerful traditions, religious beliefs, and so forth. But I have to tell you that over the course of several years, as I talk to friends and family and neighbors, when I think about members of my own staff who are in incredibly committed monogamous relationships, same-sex relationships, who are raising kids together, when I think about those soldiers or airmen or Marines or sailors who are out there fighting on my behalf and yet feel constrained, even now that Don't Ask, Don't Tell is gone, because they're not able to commit themselves in a marriage. At a certain point, I've just concluded that for me personally, it is important for me to go ahead and affirm that.
So Barack Obama is now supporting same-sex marriage. My biggest question is, do we have anything else in this society, in this country, to worry about besides whether two guys or two girls or a man and a woman want to get married? The answer is no! Who cares about this? Well, I mean, I don't mean it in that sense. What I mean is there are so many more things to be worried about in the sense of education and everything than for us to worry about same-sex marriage. Same-sex marriage is already on a direct path to being completely federal, a totally national thing. Yes, North Carolina is downing it and saying no, and civil unions are not allowed and such. But you know what? You better just accept the fact that it's going to happen because society is evolving in that way. It's going to happen. You can fight it as long as you want to. It's going to happen. People who are, the same gender and want to, be together and commit their lives to each other, that's fine. If it's from a religious aspect and you think it's wrong for two guys to have sex with each other and two girls to have sex with each other, well, I've got news for you. As soon as they get married, about a year later, unless they're just the friskiest rabbits in the world, they're not going to be having sex anyway. They're going to come home and they're going to sit in front of their television and they're going to be thinking, God, what a fucking bitch, whether it's a guy or a girl in the kitchen making dinner. Or ragging on them. Why don't you clean up this? Why don't you clean up that? Because one is always going to be the more docile and one is going to be the more dominant. It's what Angelina Jolie says when she comes home and finds Brad Pitt with the kids and the house is not clean. She says, what the fuck have you been doing, bitch? Clean something. Pick up a pan and make me some SpaghettiOs. Stop sitting on your ass and enjoying yourself all day while I'm out there on set making out with guys and trying to make action films and show myself off. What are you doing? Angelina, you never buy me anything anymore. Here's fucking Chanel. Have some Chanel and shut your ass up and make me some SpaghettiOs. Don't worry about whether people of same sex are getting married because there's no sex that's going to be involved after a year anyway. Dear God, I wish that I could hear of stories where couples are frisky little monkeys and doing it constantly, but they're not. This is just about people who are past the concept of physical interaction and just want to be committed to each other because they want the same benefits from a retirement perspective, and they want the same benefits if someone dies. They want to be able to have families and children and go to PTA meetings and everything like that. Let them have it. Leave people alone. I mean, is it really your business whether two people are having sex, whether they're man and man and woman? Now, I'm going to go out of my way here and be a little bit offensive in saying I don't quite get it from an anatomical perspective only. You're going to have some place to stick the happy stick. You're going to have some place something to stick in the special rabbit hole to create an explosion. So from an anatomical perspective, I don't really understand why not be with a man or a woman. It must be a lot more deeper emotionally, but that's just the way it is. I only see women as the object of my sexual desire. I don't quite see how you look at a guy and go, I really love that mustache. I'd really like to kiss him. I don't get it. But who cares if I get it? I'm not the one involved in it. I don't see how, from my completely male perspective, I suppose I could see how a woman would look at another woman and go, hey, nice tits. But I don't get from an anatomical perspective why you would want to be with another man when you're going to have to satisfy your sexual urge by having an erection and having an explosion that comes from friction. Just like when you're a woman, you're going to have the friction of entry in order to, and penetration and pleasure to your G-spot or whatever you want to use the terminology for, in order to create happiness. So I'm not quite sure I understand why people are so interested in having a partner that is of the opposite sex, of the same sex, but regardless of it, the fact that he's supporting it, Barack Obama, the President of the United States, in this current time, it really, all it does is strengthen his political position in society, in the liberal community, because people who are very right-wing conservative are going to be against it. And that's going to decrease their popularity. It's just going to be a part of it. And honestly, so many people in society now are not worrying about this. So the fact that people are making an issue of it when people would rather worry about so many other things, I think is really turning off the public more than anything else. I think people would rather be talking about education and improving the economy and giving people a chance to rebuild in the job community, in the job market. I think people would rather have that. But we're focusing on this. And then there comes two things from the Romney camp that are happening right now. That's why I told you this show is 50% gay. I think it's more like 70% gay tonight, because Mitt Romney has two things going on. The first thing is that a couple of days ago, I know it's a week ago that this happened, one of his aides, I guess a foreign aide worker for him in his camp, Richard Grenell, resigned. In addition to coming out that Richard Grenell is gay, it also comes out that the guy is apparently a bigger liar than O.J. This man says things about, he goes back and forth and lies to people. There have been constant numbers of people who said he's a liar, he says this, he means that. He's a liar. But the media is picking up on the fact that he's gay. Has anybody ever thought of the fact that maybe they just fired the guy because they were finally tired of his bullshit? He was just in the way. He wasn't good for the Romney camp. I don't quite frankly think it was an intelligent move to hire the man in the first place when he had such a bad reputation. But hey, whatever. But the fact that he was fired, to me, it's just people trying to bring attention to it. It's like bringing racism back. It's just another form of racism or prejudice. This has nothing to do with the fact that this man was fired. Stop picking up on one minute aspect of this man's deceptive, what's the word? I'm looking for, I need a vocabulary word lesson right now. Stop keeping track of this particular aspect of his personality and focus on the fact that he is a liar. He doesn't know the truth. As my mother would say, he wouldn't know the truth if it jumped up and bit him in the ass. Let go of the fact that the man is gay. He's gay. So what? So what? There's other things there's other reasons for his resignation. He obviously is the one who chose to resign. So how do we know there wasn't something deeper? Just because please don't take that the wrong way. How do we know there wasn't something deeper going on from a political standpoint about the impact he was having? How do we know there wasn't something inappropriate going on with the way he behaved? Because heterosexual people are not the only ones who behave inappropriately. He could have easily have hit on someone that didn't want to get hit on. I mean, look at John Edwards. He hit on people, and he got caught. Bill Clinton was constantly, had the wiener schnitzel out. Maybe he had something inappropriate, or maybe politically he was dangerous because he had other problems and stuff that he was doing that would have made things worse for the Romney camp. So maybe that's why they got rid of him. But nonetheless, after that, Mitt Romney looks like it was yesterday, I'm saying, that Mitt Romney was also brought to the head of the news for a story involving some activity back when, over 50 years ago, mind you, with someone who people are saying is gay. Check out this news story.
Front page story of today's Washington Post, going back some 50 years almost to when you were in prep school and a certain hazing incident which against a suspected homosexual student, and that you led that hazing incident. I guess the kid had dyed his hair blonde. You and some buddies didn't like it. You forcibly pinned him to a table, cut his hair. You've heard the story. You know the story. It's out there. Any comment on it?
Well, first of all, I had no idea what that individual's sexual orientation might be. Going back to the 1960s, that wasn't something that we all discussed or considered. So that's simply just not accurate. I don't recall the incident myself, but I've seen the reports, and not going to argue with that. There's no question but that I did some stupid things when I was in high school, and obviously if I hurt anyone by virtue of that, I would be very sorry for it and apologize for it.
Have you heard from any of the players? I know the then teenager in question has now since passed away. I think he died in 2004. But have you heard from any of the ones who might have participated in this?
Okay, number one, if you listen there at the end, the reporter talks about how the guy in question is dead. He's been dead since 2004, 8 years ago. How do you even know that man was gay? You're saying that this guy was gay. Who came forward? An ex-lover? An ex-boyfriend? Whatever? Saying, Mitt Romney cut his hair when he was in high school. Good God, that sounds like a hazing. Well, how do you even know that man is gay? You're saying now this man is gay. Where is the guy? You're putting this out there, and this man has no defense for himself anymore. He can't protect his position and say, yes, Mitt Romney did this, or no, Mitt Romney didn't do this to me. It was a part of a high school, for all we know, it was part of a high school initiation process. I was thinking about this when I read this story and heard about it, is my brother back in ninth grade, when he joined the marching band in high school. And it was like 4 or 5:30 in the morning that these two guys came in, threw a sheet over my brother, put a blindfold over him, tied a sock around his face to cover his eyes, picked him up, took him, made him dress up in a diaper, along with other guys, not just my brother, had them sit in shopping carts and had races up and down the aisles in the grocery store. That's an initiation. This is what people do. This could have happened on a football team, the lacrosse team, the golf team, for all I know. We don't know what the situation was around, and no one's going to get specific about it. Just, you did this to him. And Mitt Romney even says it was stupid, but he probably doesn't even know from what's going on. It's been 50 years. Do you think this man's really thinking about something that happened 50 years ago? And, man, I really hope that time that we cut a gay guy's hair really doesn't come up during my election. It's just pure bashing. I'm not necessarily Republican or Democrat because I really don't think that in fundamental senses from a political perspective on the money side of it, that they are tremendously different, okay? There are some differences, but most cases, Democrats and Republicans work for lobbyists. They are figureheads for other people, not of their own perspectives. Although I do think Barack's approach to come out was mildly independent, but I'm sure it was motivated by some position in the community where he is attached to an organization or a company that is becoming more sexual orientation friendly. But as far as Romney is concerned, the man cut someone's hair. It's not a sign of gay bashing. It's not like he, they really did anything majorly bad to this guy besides cut his hair. if that's the most traumatizing thing that happens to you in high school, then I think you'll be all right. That's the kind of stuff that Marsha Brady would be sad about. Or Greg Brady. What was it? Didn't he get his hair turned orange or something? Why didn't people come out and say, oh, my God, look, he looks like Lucy. He's gay. Come on. It's not important. This is not important stuff in the situation of trying to figure out who's going to be the next president. Something the man did when he was 16 or 17 years old. People make mistakes. Let it go. Let it go. Focus on education. Focus on job creation. Focus on economic development. Get the troops out of Iraq, whatever. Get them out of there. Let's start focusing on this country and the people in this country to bring us back to greatness more and more, because we are in a declining market right now. We need to improve the quality of our education, improve the quality of the people taking over this country, and really improve this country and the people who live in it and who were born in it. That's a whole other conversation about immigration. I won't get into that tonight, but if you want to pop in the last couple of minutes, we only got about 10 minutes left in the program, feel free to please, 14 minutes, whatever, dial in 714-868-0248. Again, 714-868-0248. Definitely appreciate your calls or welcome your calls if you want to. If not, I got plenty to talk about. This world. Barack Obama in support of gay marriage. Mitt Romney might have beat up a gay guy. Had a resignee that Richard Grinnell, who apparently was gay. There's a lot of gay things going on. Why are we so focused on gay stuff right now? Is there something I don't know about? I just don't get it. Let's see, what else have I got to share tonight? I think, let's see. John Travolta. Oh, why don't I just move on to my other last thing? It's just a heavy topic to start to end the show, but hey, whatever. This is the way it is. Again, 714-868-0248 if you want to get in on the program, HodgePodge. Day 1, episode 1. Hope you join us next week. So, here's how it is. I was watching a program on YouTube called The Point last week. And one of the things they were talking about, on this program, they let professors and essentially scientists bring forth these questions that then the panel fields and gives their opinions on. And they ended up talking about religion. Predominantly, they're talking about science over religion, which is the scientific version of, which is science's answer to religion's statement that science is fake and that there is no evolution, and then there's science that's saying religion is fake and there is no God or Jesus or whatever. And what really sparked from this to me was having conversations with people afterwards and thinking to myself, why on earth are we worrying? Why are we so caught up on this idea that there has to be one answer and that the other one must be complete and utter nonsense? Scientists, in so many cases, not all cases, but in so many cases, want to believe that evolution is the cause of existence and not a higher power, a God or an Allah or whatever the choices are. And spiritual or religious leaders are saying that God created us, one and all, He had a purpose, and we are what we are because of what God wants us to be. Well, I have news for both sets of those people. Not the middle grounders who can use common sense, but the people who are on the extreme ends of it. When you push so hard to prove your point is right, you push away so many people. Because you get children who are parts of families that are very based in religion. And you tell them, your religion is fake. You know what those parents are going to do? The first thing they're going to do is fight against it. They are not going to want their children to be involved with you. They're not going to want them to learn more about it because they think you're taking away a fundamental belief and trying to destroy a fundamental belief of society. Why don't you just offer it as an option, as a consideration? Because really the truth is, the bottom line is, if there is a God, a higher power of creation, couldn't he have created evolution? Don't you think that he said, hey, I'm going to start a process of existence and see what happens? Because Earth is the domain of man to mutate and to create and to grow or destroy or evolve as it is supposed to through the progression of man. It's not like God is saying, this is my territory. Don't do anything here. He has, commandments and such, but he doesn't. It's not like he just said, okay, I control everything here and you can't, do anything else. Because he knew man was inevitably going to evolve in its own way. And he said, believe in me, or follow me, worship me, whatever the choice of the word is. He said, this is what I want you to do. And if you do this, then I'll give you eternal life. Now, whether that means that you believe that he saw man evolve and hold on to those fundamentals, or it was just man writing it or whatever, what is the problem with believing that there's something greater? Science has not been proven 100% either. And I'm not saying that science is not valid, but science has proven itself to be no more accurate than religion. How many times have they predicted a new ice age? I was talking to someone the other day who was saying, and his wife is a preacher, but he remembers back in the 60s when scientists were talking about a new ice age. Then we got to the 90s and we were talking about global warming. We were talking about California being in the ocean and this and that. And you know what? None of it has come to fruition. There are as many false prophets in science as there are in religion. And when you do so much of that, eventually you turn people off. And you make people not care anymore. And they do become sort of middle ground and just say, I don't want to be involved with that, I don't want to be involved with that. How many people see people going door to door doing religion, and people just close the door in their faces? I would just love to see something where someone goes door to door and says, excuse me, have you heard about the chemical tables? Have you seen the chemical table? Have you seen H2O? Have you seen hydrogen and oxygen combine to form water? I want to see someone do that door to door. That would be amazing. If you do it, record it. Just it's like I'm a door-to-door scientist. And right here, I have a couple of things that I could show you. One is a flux capacitor, and I use this to travel through time. And this is all the chemicals. I have plutonium here. I have all kinds of things. I have nitroglycerin. I have all these things that are really interesting, and I'd like to see if you would like to know where we came from. I'd also like to see if you'd know how to explode. Just stop thinking. Pushing so much for people to believe one way or another. Give them the information and let them make a choice based on some verifiable evidence, which is what science is, and then some verifiable evidence evidence, which is religion. I mean, people talk a lot about how the Bible is wrong and it's fake and stuff, but you know what? How many things in the Bible, for the most part, and in a very similar way, have occurred in society. And this book was written years and years and years and years ago. And we're talking centuries. We're talking eras. It's written a long time ago. And they were still saying, man will not know the day or the hour. And guess what? Every man who has guessed the day or the hour, guess what's happened? Booyah, they've been wrong. Science is not the end-all, be-all of existence and the answers to everything. There's not explanations for every aspect of evolution. They haven't explained how A got to B and such. Hasn't been explained. But people continue to believe it. People continue to fight the existence of God or the belief in evolution. It's just the way it is. But we all live in a world that is absolutely, incontrovertibly unexplainable. Winding down the program here in the last 4 minutes or so. And talked for a full hour. It's pretty impressive. I'm thinking to myself, after all this time and after having gotten all this stuff out, which I never thought I would get all this out in an hour, and I didn't expect phone calls my first episode. Maybe next time. I hope so. That's fine. I got plenty to talk about. But all I'm thinking is
shit.
Just plain old simple
shit.
So, I really hope that if you jumped over here from all the other programs that Blog Talk Radio has to offer, that you enjoyed it. Hope you'll join me again next week on Blog Talk Radio for another episode of HodgePodge.
We'll see you all again. Sleep tight.